Welcome to the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Hartley. This podcast exists to equip and inspire your heart-centered leadership. Every week, we bring interviews with some of the greatest heart sets and mindsets on the planet. I hope the heartprint of our time spent together is that it creates new possibilities for you and all those you come into contact with. If you'd like to explore what we could make possible for you, then head to abty.co.uk/connect and book in a free 30-minute call to begin our journey together. I just want to express a huge amount of gratitude to our sponsors, Exhale Coffee. I have been a big fan of Exhale Coffee since meeting Alex and the team back in 2022. Exhale is the first coffee to be sourced, roasted and lab tested specifically to maximize its antioxidant and anti-inflammatory potency. An independent lab test has shown that 1 cup of Exhale Coffee has the same antioxidant power as 1.8 kilos of blueberries or 55 oranges. I'm a huge fan, and Mrs. H loves the decaf, especially because she knows that Exhale use the mountain water decaffeination process, which uses only pure glacial water from the highest mountain in Mexico and no nasty chemicals. Simply head to exhalecoffee.com/ABTY for your special offer. And lastly, before I introduce this week's guest, please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It would really help us leave a greater heartprint on this world. On episode 263, it's an honor to welcome Hortense le Gentil to the podcast. Hortense is a world-renowned executive leadership coach, speaker and author. She guides CEOs and senior executives on their journey from hero leaders to human leaders. She's the author of 2 books, Aligned, Connecting Your True Self with the Leader You're Meant to Be, and her latest book, The Unlocked Leader, Dare to Free Your Own Voice, Lead with Empathy, and Shine Your Light in the World. It's a great conversation, one that I hope inspires your human leadership. And here we go. Episode 263 with Hortense le Gentil. Hortense, welcome to the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast. How are you?
Very good, Ryan. I'm delighted to be here. I just love your podcast. Thank you for having me.
So kind, so kind. We're going to have a great conversation. You and I share a heart and a passion for leadership. And, you know, I wonder this about everybody that comes across the topic of leadership. When you become passionate about something, I know enough about people that it's not always the passion that is sometimes rooted in pain. Whether there's some experiences that we've had in our career along the way, and we discover this thing called leadership that is almost like, it's like the Holy Grail. We found the thing, the master key to leaving people and teams and organizations and maybe the world a little bit better than they were yesterday. Would that be true? Would that be fair to say of you? Is your passion for leadership born out of love for it, or is there a story of pain?
Oh my goodness, you're so right. No, of course, like everyone, it's a long journey. For me, there has been a very long journey. And yes, like everyone, and pain. And then for me, so in fact, it was, okay, so let me start very fast to maybe, our listener to listen to and try to understand and follow me. So I was born and raised in France and surrounded by horses, with horses. And so I was a horse rider by then. And this is when I learned a lot about leadership. So at that time, I didn't realize that absolutely, because of course, it doesn't, it's only when you look backwards that you realize that what happened in your life led you to be who you are today. But I learned a lot about leadership at that time, how to communicate, because of course your horse is not talking, right?
Yeah.
And how to communicate, how empathy, how to feel the horse, how to share your vision. So if you want to jump an obstacle, so you have to be sure of, okay, where do you want to turn? What way you want to do? And 3 steps before the obstacles, okay, you just stop. You trust your horse, because you are not the one who's going to jump, right? It's your horse. So it's a team. It's a teamwork. So I learned a lot at that time. But anyway, it was not painful at that time. And then I worked. After that, I had my second passion was to go to America. I had this American dream in my imagination, in my brain, and not only imagination. Then I went to Boston, and I studied about both marketing and in France and in Paris and here in Boston. And then I came back to France and I worked in different corporations and advertising, commercial, publications, things like that. And then Ryan, sorry, wait, I said Brian, sorry, excuse me. It was a time outside, everything sounds great. So, I had 2 kids, I was married, and I had a great job. So, but in fact, I felt like it was not right for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I couldn't express myself completely. I felt like, I was not I was not expressing, everything that I had in my body, brain, heart. And then a part of me, of course, because we always knew what I had to do, but it was hard to face it, and it was complicated. So I was there, stuck in my life around my 40s, late 40s. No, late 30s. I don't even remember. Let's say late 30s. And then I was here in my life, and I didn't know what to do. I was lost. Personal life, professional life, I was lost, completely lost. And then, of course, because I didn't take a decision then, I went sick in bed. And I was sick in bed for months. So I had time to, reflect and think about
face with it.
And face to face. And okay. And it was like, okay, this is a sign. And at that time, I had a dream. So I had my grandmother. So the grandmother, so wise, that I just loved, and she passed away. She already passed away at that time. But she came to me in my dream, and she told me, Hortense, you have to find the path of roses. And I said, what is it? What is it, this path of roses? Yeah. And where is it? So tell me, Ma. And she said, she just smiled at me, and she said, you know where it is. And she disappeared. So what should I do with that? Ryan, can you imagine that? What should I do with that? So I was there. And I didn't understand, first I was very frustrated because I understood that it was a great message, but I didn't understand where to start, in fact. And that would be later that I would understand that what she meant was so, so important. What she meant was you need to listen to your inner voice. Your inner voice, because we know what we need to do, and not the voices outside, the voices who said, no, you cannot divorce, the voices who said, no, you cannot be an entrepreneur, the voices around you, all those voices, parental, society, that say, they always say, no, you cannot. If you don't take the road that they think you should take, okay, it's a no. Yeah. But what about if I think it's a yes? And this is my, this is what I have to do. And then, when I started to listen to this, inner voice and to take decision, I started to free myself. And then I started my journey to become who I am today and what I was meant to do.
That's beautiful. And for those that are listening, they can't see that there's a basket of roses over your shoulder. I love that. Is that a great reminder to you every single day?
This is it. This is a little book that I wrote because in my book, The Unlock Leader, every chapter starts with a fable. So this fable is the Path of Roses that I created. It's completely out of my imagination, based and inspired by the Little Prince, Le Petit
Okay.
Prince,
Yeah.
of Saint-Exupéry. That I just love this
Mm.
book. It's so inspired, so philosophical, so smart. And then this is a story, that starts all chapters to help the reader to enter the chapter and it talks to your imagination, to the right part of the brain. And then when the book was finished, I wanted to create this little book. And then this little book. It's drawing and illustration and the fable, and yes, I did love it. Yes.
Beautiful. I recently had a conversation with a man called Neil Donald Walsh. He wrote a series of books called Conversations with God, and I'm still working my way through his work. And yesterday I heard this description that we have to stop looking at time as linear, but more of a spiral, and that all of eternity's moments ever happen in the present moment of now. So he said you got to look at life like a spiral, and we're all different leaves on different points of that spiral. So this idea that you've had your grandmother come into a dream really brought to life this: in the present moment now, your ancestor has come down through the leaves to communicate this beautiful message for you. Just really brought that to life. So thank you for that. Over your shoulder, you have two books. One is called Aligned, which is all about connecting your true self with the leader you're meant to be. And then The Unlocked Leader, which you released 4 years later, 2023, which is all about the Unlocked Leader: dare to free your own voice, lead with empathy, and shine your light in the world. I'm really excited to hear about some of the concepts that you share in your work, but I want to do the opposite. I want to explore this idea that there are many people out there that are locked and misaligned. Like, speak into that for us. What's it like for many out there? They'll really resonate with this. What does it feel like to be misaligned and locked as a leader?
We feel that we want to move forward, but something is holding us back.
Mm.
And so it's really this moment, or you wake up in the morning or during the day, you wish you could do something differently because you would love to do that. It's like an inspiration. So inside yourself that could be better, at least for you, or what you want to do, even if you don't exactly, like it was my case. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. The only thing I felt was that I was not satisfied 100%, and I was not living the life that I thought it, could fulfill me,
Yeah.
and others. So this is really this feeling. And if you are a leader, it's also this feeling of same. It's this feeling of you have a difficulty to connect with your environment, difficulty to connect with others. You feel maybe completely alone, and maybe you tell yourself, "Oh, nobody understand me," or whatever. But it's really this difficulty to connect with others. And when you are leaders, that's a problem, because you need to connect with your team, with others, and and you don't do it. It's like you should protect yourself, or yeah, it's that kind of sensation.
Well, I think people are familiar with the term emotional intelligence. And I love the analogy that you brought to life with the horse, because, we had a parenting expert on the show a couple of years ago. His name's Dr. Gordon Neufeld. And what he said about parenting really kind of shattered my perspective, because he says it's not the parent that sets the context in parenting. It's not, I want to be a great parent and therefore the child follows me. He says it's the child that sets the context of parenting, i.e., the child gives the parent the permission to parent them based on certain conditions that they feel like there's an attachment, there's connection. And I thought the same's true of leadership. I'm not a leader because I say so, because I have a title, because I demand the authority. The true context for my leadership is whether my followers give me permission, whether they will be willful followers or not. And I think the same is true of your horse situation. It's like they will only follow our lead if they feel, I think, maybe safe enough, maybe connected enough, maybe inspired enough to follow us.
Exactly. This is exactly that. This is really this, if we go back to the horse, it's really everything about trust. But
Mm.
how do you cultivate trust,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And it's really this environment of trust, of passions, of listening, or trying to understand others. And then it's always the same story. Everything starts with yourself.
Yeah.
So when you become a leader in your life at one point, so Ryan, I consider that everyone is a leader at the end of the day, because at the minimum you are the leader of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
okay, but let's talk about just let's take, let's talk about leadership. Then if you when you become a leader, the difference between a manager and a leader for me is you you were a doer, you had to do, you know, you had to execute. Yes, because you had to learn and things like that. And then one day you start to inspire.
Mm.
And then you move from doer to inspire to facilitator, if you will. And then what that means is you have to change the way you lead.
Mm. Mm.
The way you lead in order to inspire people, what that means. And then we go back to this notion of connecting with your true self, who you are, your inner voice. Because if you are not connected with who you are, your own humanity, your own inner voice,
Yeah.
how can you connect with others? It's absolutely not possible.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
My background's in policing, and I completely relate to what you say, because you do not want your best police officer, your best detective, to be top of the pile. You do not want the chief constable to be the best detective, because guess what happens? All the information goes, "Oh, sir, what should we do? Mom, what should we do?" And then I think I love the paradigm shift we're about to talk about in a minute, which is about the heroic model of leadership. This I feel useful and as a good leader because I tell you what to do, versus can that person at the top get the best out of their PCs and detective? Not the best at the top, but can the top get the best out of the PCs and detective? And you talk about moving from a style of heroic leadership to human leadership. That's a paradigm shift. I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah. So because yes, exactly what you say. For me, a hero leader is someone very top down and don't listen and pass orders. Very like that. And the
Mm.
human leader is someone who have the ability to connect with others and to empower others, to create this environment of trust, of empower, of empathy. And um, and maybe you're going to ask me, why should we do that? It's because the world changed, right? So if even if you never thought about it, so now the world changed, and
Mm.
people expectations change also. So they want to connect with you. They don't need another hero like Tina Turner, song. Not at all. They want to connect with you. And how can I connect with you? How can I connect with Ryan? How can I connect with my
Mm.
leader? By knowing you,
Mm.
by being human, by sharing something.
Mm.
If you don't give anything, people are not going to be inspired by you. They want to see you as a human being. Oh, you know, Ryan is like me. He also suffers. Okay, good. So now we can talk. You can relate. You can breathe. As you just, this is it. This is it. This is this connection between you and me, and between people, between
Yeah.
you as a leader and the person in front of you, between you as a leader and, of course, your team. And then we need to do that. And humanity start with
Mm.
yourself again. So that's all this journey, because it's a journey. You have to learn how to do that, and you need to be so much courageous,
Oh,
because you need courage. This is hard. This is
yeah.
not that simple. It looks so simple, and by the way, we don't understand why it is so
Yeah.
difficult, but it is, because we have education behind years of of education of, oh, you have to lead that way. This is how it looks when you lead. When you're a leader,
Mm,
you don't feel, you are fearless. You don't show your emotions. You don't connect with people. Their life.
yeah.
You don't care. It's not your business, and your life is not their business. So, you know, this is. I just wanted to say, this is true and not true, because it's not all about, okay, be all together, a bunch of psychologists and
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and 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 share everything. No, it's all
No.
about finding this balance, these boundaries between what is okay to share for you
Yeah,
and what is going to inspire others. So before
yeah.
telling everything, why should I say that?
I agree with that. It's not in the extremes. It's not a bunch of psychologists. It's also not a bunch of hippies. This,
No.
it's integrating all of our humanity, as you say. I love the fact you picked up the word courage, because in your native language, the root of the word courage is cur, which is, it's just a great reminder that a lot of this stuff comes from a different source. And I think that's what we're really aligning to, is that what is that essence of who I truly am, which isn't a figment of my mind. It's a figment of my soul and my spirit and my heart. And um, we were fortunate enough to be joined by Patrick Lencioni a couple of weeks ago on the show. And one of the things that really stuck with me from seeing his work in the very early days, when I was at the very early part of my journey, is that if a leader can't be vulnerable, nobody else can be. Is
Mm.
this idea that if the leader doesn't create the environment for their own imperfections and their own vulnerabilities, then no one can show their humanity, their vulnerability and imperfections. So there is so much emphasis on this ability to go first. And, I think leadership is relationships. And, one thing we can take from a relationship point of view is, I understand that, if you really want to have a deep relationship with someone, you can't meet them at any greater depth than we've met ourselves. Like, I can't possibly have a level of empathy and compassion and understanding if I'm not able to do that for myself. And so this is brave work. This is courageous work. To be as an effective leader as possible, we have to look in the mirror. And I love that you're putting out, valuable tools and resources to enable people to walk that brave path. Because when you say connecting with your true self, I don't think we can emphasize the word true enough, because so many people have learned a sense of self from anything other than what is true. And like, where do you encourage? There's a young Ryan Hartley listening to this podcast. 10 years ago, Ryan Hartley would have needed to listen to this podcast so that I may go on the pursuit of who I was truly am as a leader, because I was suffering and struggling trying to be the leader that others
Mm.
needed me to be. I started to look at myself thinking, I can't be that type of leader. That's not who I am.
Mm.
And that would have been the end of my leadership journey, because I couldn't do what they projected onto me.
Mhm.
Luckily, along the way, I found a few good people to guide me as to who Ryan Hartley was as a leader. This is the work you're doing. Where do those people start?
Mhm. This is beautiful. What you're saying, I'm happy you went through this journey. Mm, yes, where to start? Where to start is, so we're talking about the fears. Where to start is, the first thing is you have to want to do it. Okay,
Yeah.
so you don't do it because because we say it right now, right? But it's because you feel it. You feel, like we said, you feel locked. You feel you're not
Mm,
yourself, and you feel it's not the right place for you. You're not writing your own story. You are not you are not living your own life. Then the first thing is face your fears. So we are afraid because we are used to do like that. We were educated to do like that, as a leader, as a
mm,
person. So it's very hard when you want to change roads.
mm,
So it's okay. It's perfectly okay to be
mm,
afraid, because, fears are part of our humanity. So it's part of, being human. So it's not a problem. So, but be aware of them. It's the right thing to do. The wrong thing is, I'm not afraid. nothing happened. No. Yes, okay. So I can feel you. And then, have a conversation with your fears, invite them to the table and tell them, okay, okay. I know you're here. You're afraid that I'm going to fail. You're afraid to show your emotion. Okay, this is okay. But I'm running the show and I'm going to do it anyway. So they're here, and you feed them and you scale, the price of changing or not changing. So if you don't change, it's okay. It's okay. Maybe it's okay. So you will stay there. Nothing new is going to happen, and that's okay. If you change, it's risky, but you can learn so much and you can evolve so much. And this is, by the way, how you innovate also. It's, changing roads and trying new things, take risk. So, okay, the first step is you face your fears. The second step is, okay, from what I learned, let's say that, okay, let's talk only about two families of source, because we need to track the source. So where are we locked? Why I don't do what I think I should do, right? So it can come from two things too, from my experience. More than two, but let's talk about only two today. Trauma that are not overcome. But when I talk about trauma, you have a trauma with a capital T. So often you're aware of it. And you have trauma with a little t, who is, the everyday trauma. And all of us, we've been through that because, we started there. It's by suffering that we learn, because we suffer. And so we try other things and we grow and we evolve, right? So those trauma, so it comes from trauma, or it comes from, it comes from the voices behind the trauma, or the voices that we already talk about that, but we're going to go back to that. They are very important and they are very strong. They help us until now, but at one point they don't help us anymore. And also, if I go back to this mind trap also, it's a mindset that help us until now, but doesn't help anymore. It's a behavior, it's a belief, or it's beliefs that, doesn't work anymore. For example, I need to have all the answer. I need to be perfect as a leader. So it helps you because when you were young, okay, go for it. I can do more and more and more. But when you're here and then when you're leader, today, nobody can have all the answers.
Yeah.
Can you, every morning, you wake up and there is something new. So, okay, that's not possible. So it's another reason for to change, your the way you lead, because it's all together that you're going to go somewhere. It's not you alone. That's not possible. That's all. And then if I go back to where it's coming from, so we track the source, so trauma or our voices or the voices behind that. But let me share a story. So I had senior executives who was expected to be the next CEO of the company. And then, of course, in order to do it, you have to be in front of, an interview with the board or the board members and things like that. And then out of the blue, his behavior changed completely. He didn't listen at all. He was talking all the time. He didn't let the time to anybody to ask questions. So, of course, he didn't get the job. And he was the first one to be very, very surprised. And yeah, exactly. And, but okay, something happened there. And then, so he came to me and he told me, Hortense, I don't know where he's coming from. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I said, okay, let's figure it out. And then in revisiting his life, he remembered that years ago, so he was, at that time, he was a student. He was still a student. So years ago, he had to, in order to pass an exam, he had to, be in front of a bunch of teachers. And he had to present his theory. And then one of the teacher didn't let him talk. He was always, stopping him, interrupt, and then, of course, he lost his cool, and he started to. It was a trauma.
Yeah.
What happened? I cannot express myself.
Right.
I work so much for that, and I cannot express myself. Okay,
Mm.
and then it was not enough. This same teacher told him, young guy, I don't know what you're going to do in life, but I can promise something to you. You will never be a CEO. And he
Okay.
told him, because I can read all your emotions in your face. And then this little guy,
Yeah.
very smart, a very hard worker, left school thinking that he would never be a CEO. And by the way, a CEO should not show anything, any emotions. Then
Yes.
it was wrong and wrong. And
Yes.
then, of course, he forgot because he became very successful
Yes.
until that day.
Yes.
Who, he had to somewhere face this commandment that he didn't digest, that his unconscious, his brain didn't digest. It became a trauma. And then at that moment, without thinking, he reacted. And then, in order to be sure that nobody's going to stop him, he talked. It became very talkative, and it was not the right place, and either the right place and nor the right moment. So of course, he didn't get the job, but he understood that he had a trauma because his behavior changed without thinking. So was good, what it was good. So he was here, and this is all of us. This is what we have to do. If we think, if at one point you figure out that, okay, my behavior changed, or you see someone, change behavior without absolutely no reason, think about it. Maybe there is a trauma somewhere. And what I call a trauma, a trauma, it's an event or a series of events that struggle your emotions and struggle your sense of safety. And then I have this metaphor that I just love. Our brain is like a house, right? The emotions are the furniture. So normally we have an emotion, and our brain, our system, put the emotion at the right place. So, okay, so there is a bed there. My emotion is a bed. Okay, boop, boop. Okay, you put the bed in the bedroom. Okay, but now imagine that I have a car, and my car is parked in the middle of my living room. So this emotion, the car, should not be there. Should be in the garage, right? And then imagine now that you are in your living room and you want to watch TV. How can you do that? You have this car in the middle of the living room. This is a trauma. And then when you realize that you have this car, like in this example, you realize that it has this trauma, the work now is to put back, the car in the garage, right? And this is what we did. You challenge, those voices. So this is what he had to do to free himself. Like I did, when I free myself, challenge those voices. So this is what I call the mind shift.
Yeah, that's powerful. What a gift. What a gift that experience was, should we choose to see it that way. And, when we're courageous and brave enough to come to, face to face with this sense of who we truly are, this alignment, the alignment really for me and my understanding is not just internally, but then my words and my actions become a external demonstration of my internal world. That's like alignment, right? Everybody in the world can see congruency, they can see integrity, they can see that my words and my actions are at one with my identity, who I believe I am, my values. And Ralph Lauren is quoted as saying that Hortense writes the way she lives authentically. So you've got to this place where your words and your actions are an authentic demonstration of who you believe you are. Like, how does then one start to develop the expression, the voice to bring this alignment to the world?
So I think the first thing is to free yourself. So how you free yourself, you go to this, process of mind trap, track the source, and challenge, the voices behind that. And then, okay, so let me give you something else. To how to challenge the voices by asking yourself 3 powerful questions. So is it true? So in the example, is it true that I cannot be a CEO? No. Is it relevant? Not really. Is it helpful today? So I repeat, is it true? Is it relevant? And is it helpful today? Today. Maybe yesterday, yes, but not today. And then if you answer no to at least one of these questions, then it's time to let go. And then you let go. And what we mean by letting go is really, if we talk about, for example, let's take this example again, the voices. Let go means no emotion anymore. So if when you think about let go, you are angry with this teacher or, the voice, the person who behind the voice. Doesn't work. You didn't let go. So do it until you let go. Because this is when you open the door to who you are, to your freedom, to who you are. And then you can connect with your inner voice. And why? Because you are in peace. You don't listen anymore to those old voices around you. You are in peace. It's okay. It's okay. They say that to help me, maybe. Often, very often, it helps you. Or not in this, of course, in this example. But if you take your parents, your educator, your mentor, who you want to be, and you name it, and then now you are ready. The door is open, and then you start the work, the real work. And the real work is what you said, Ryan, is, okay, think about it now. What is important for you? What are your values? Why, how you want to be remembered when we will be, out of the picture? What do you want people to tell about you? Think about it. Think about everything like that. And think about, I give 2 or 3 or more exercise, but for example, you can write your eulogy. And why your eulogy? You're going to tell me, she's crazy. No, it's because if you take the time to think about it, it's very hard, by the way. At that moment, you have not only the people with who you work, you have all your life. You have, your parents, your friends, your children, maybe, all your life. So how do you want to be remembered? Think about it. And then you start the work, and you start to discover who you are, because I think I am a big believer of every one of us. We have our own talent. We are unique, absolutely unique. Just one Ryan in the world, just one Hortense like me, because and this is the beauty of life. So it's our mission somewhere to find this talent and make it grow. So if you listen to your inner voice, if you stop listening outside, so you feel this peace in this silence, and you start, it's the first step to to find your path of roses, like my grandmother said. It's your path of roses. So start where you feel it. And then, so how you want to be remembered, and then show up like that. So how do you want to show up as a leader, as a person? Same. And And then you start the work and you do it. And after you reflect, you take the time to meet with yourself every day. Every day you have this rendezvous, as said, with yourself. Have this rendezvous. We have a lot of meeting in a day. And how often do you meet with yourself? Could you tell me? You don't. You don't. So you cannot listen. You can forget. You can do anything, not forget, but you cannot listen. And then, okay, if you start this work, just see if you are still on track. Are you on track? Are you still there? So it's the only way, to continue to evolve, because you open this door, but this door can close very fast. So work on it every day. It's like, I don't know, you broke your arm. What are you going to do? Every day you need to exercise, right? Same here. And you can do it in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but take the time every day to check and do your daily rendezvous with yourself and think, okay, how did I do there?
I love that. And it's, the rendezvous is happening now so that you may be intentional and create this potential. Because I think I've heard people describe that the idea of hell is like meeting a future version of yourself, like that you could have been. It's like coming face to face with that which could have been. And I think one of the things you really said a minute ago, which I don't want to just go underneath the surface, was under the radar, was the word peace. You're currently in the States where they're in the pursuit of happiness, right? I think maybe society has put happiness on a pedestal and has forgotten the pricelessness of peace. Like, especially as a leader, like, so often we're using our leadership to gain and more status, recognition, more finances, more stuff and things, and in reality the spirit of peace is priceless.
Peace is everything, because if you are, first you get energy, because if you're at peace, you're not at war.
Right.
So you don't have to fight against something, a voice or whatever. So you are furious about something. So you have more energy. And this, peace gives you the ability to see the world differently, and then to see people differently. Because as a leader, so when you are connected with your this inner voice, with your why, who you are, your values, and you start this journey of listening others and try to empower others, then if you're at peace, you have this ability to see, to be at the present moment, and to give to give that opportunity to others to be in peace also. But you just listen. It's your superpower. It's when you are there in this state of mind of peace, it's your superpower. And this is very difficult, because if you take 24 hours, well, we sleep, so let's say 12 hours in a day, maybe you are not at peace, every moment of the day, because whatever, you're in your car and you're furious because, someone, the traffic is like that, or you are late here, or I don't know, your children did that, or your leader didn't do that, or whatever it is. You are not always at peace. But, the more you do it, the more you exercise to come back to yourself, to be aware of what's happening in your brain, in your behavior, and the more you're connected to that peace that is in yourself.
Yeah, and I think so much of this is important about for leaders to get themselves into a, dare I say, spirit or a headspace or a mind space where they're able to create new possibilities. So often I love the Viktor Frankl quote that says, between stimulus and response there's a space, and in that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and freedom. And I very much I think leadership is the ability to bridge that gap between stimulus and response, because so many people that don't have the awareness, don't have the space, maybe they've got chaos and stress in their spirit, there is no gap between stimulus and response, almost like a chimp response, right? And generally that's coming from fear, it's coming from ego, it's generally competitive and one up, I think great leadership creates a space where there's power to choose a more appropriate response, to get the
Mm,
best out of maybe myself, maybe get the best out of others, and get the best out of the situation. So I don't think this stuff can be overlooked of how precious and important it is to what you say is about creating that chain reaction, that reverberation from our leadership that doesn't just, you know, finish with the interaction that we're having with the people in front of us. It creates greater possibilities that can have a reverberation through the organization, communities. Maybe you can speak into that. Maybe speak into this idea of leadership having the capability to transform lives beyond the workplace.
mm, mm. Yes, because you said that, before, as the leader set the tone, right? You are a role model, so we need to be aware of that. So it's not about what you say, it's about what you do. So now imagine that you are this leader, so you change your behavior. So instead of coming in a meeting and just say, okay, what is the plan, what you do, oh, we do that, poop up, and you leave.
Mm.
Now imagine that you create this space for others to listen. So okay, why are we here? And you just take time to listen. You learn how to listen. Then you completely change the dynamic, because everything again starts with yourself. And then after, you have this ripple effect. So you change the dynamic. So if you are in a meeting and you let the space to others to listen, to talk, to express themselves,
Mm.
then you are going to see the power of productivity, of expressing themselves,
Mm.
because new ideas are going to come, and it's all together that we are going to create tomorrow and have the answer. So for you as a leader, you don't have to have the answer to everything. And by the way, again, it's not possible.
Yeah.
So, okay, so, and then you empower everyone. And then what you do is you give also this ability, and this you authorize your team to do the same as you did.
Yeah.
So you share, and you show. You don't even have to share, you show what is important for you, and you make them heard. You make them understand that what you do is important, what you say is important, whatever it is. And then
Yeah.
you try to help them, and then you create this environment, this culture of trust. We talk about trust,
Mm.
right before, with the horse, the same. It's this culture of trust is by trying to understand others, and
Yeah.
also make the space to share personal things, stories. So who are
Yeah.
you? What is your story? Take the space to do it as a leader. And then
Mhm.
and then the ripple effect is starting, because the person in front of you can breathe, can be themselves. They can authorize themselves to share an idea, to share whatever they have
Mm.
to share.
Mm.
And then it's absolutely not the same spirit, and this is how innovation is coming. This is how you create great things. And
Yeah.
of course, because you didn't cut yourself, and then you don't have half of yourself at work and the other half at home, you're the same person. So at home, everybody's going to also see that. It changed everything. It changed your environment. It changed the way you look at people, you interact with people. And then the productivity increases. You are even more successful,
Mm.
because you create this ripple effect.
Yeah.
And then as a human being, when you look at that, you should be satisfied.
I think it's so obvious to most people that the inverse of that story is true. We know so often that when people are uninspired, they feel unimportant, that they're not doing meaningful work, that they're stressed and unappreciated. They go home and they'll take it out on those that they love. They'll go home, whether they're present and available for their partners or for their children, their spirit will have a ripple effect at home. If we understand that that's going to happen when people are unhappy, then we can only start to be inspired by the possibility we create. And I don't think leaders think in that way. I think they're so aware that they can moan about their own boss and forget that they have the power and the potential to create a different narrative, create a different story. And
Exactly.
in the police, I really grasped this concept because we were training our detectives this concept called the Lockhard's exchange principle. It's this idea that every contact leaves a trace. So we were teaching detectives to start to think, where has the offender left of themselves at the scene? Where is the trace? I thought we need to teach our leaders this concept. Every
Mhm.
contact leaves a trace. Are we leaving people better or worse because of our presence? And I
Mhm.
think over time that is a ripple effect. And I've come to use a word to describe that, and it's heartprint. I really believe that as a leader, every contact leaves a trace.
Mhm.
And I know for anyone that picks up one of your books, has sat in one of your coaching sessions, has interacted with any one of the people that you have coached, you've left a ripple effect. Hortense, I'd just love for you to reflect on, the end of your career, what you hope your heartprint will be.
I hope that I would give the free everyone to write their own story. I wish, my heart will inspire you to be the author of your life.
That's beautiful. And one of the taglines of your book, The Unlocked Leader, is it finishes with "Shine your light in the world." What has light got anything to do with it?
Because this is everything to do, because this is what we're talking about. Your light is your inner voice, is your inner talent.
Mm,
So free your inner talent, and then you're going to see, you're going to be successful. You're going to understand, why you're here, and there will be that moment where you will understand. Okay, everything, all my life led to me to that moment, like you did, Ryan, like you did. It's exactly the same. It's it's your light now that you shine in the world, because you'll find your own way to be
mm,
your to be you. And this
mm.
is about authenticity. And then this is why you shine your light in the world.
It's so beautiful, and I love that we get this concept as an image, a metaphor. I love that we get it as a concept, and science is even saying that when we are in states of love, we start
Mhm.
to emit these things called biophotons, which literally is the measurement of light. So when we are aligned, when we are unlocked, when we are being our true selves, authentic, empathic, we literally are shining our light with the world because we are emitting more of these biophotons. Isn't that incredible?
This is beautiful. This is
Well,
amazing. This is that.
is there anything from your work that I've not asked you about that you'd love to share with our audience?
Oh, I think we talk a lot about everything. So thank you for this opportunity. It was
I
lovely.
appreciate that. Well, thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you for everything you're putting out. I will put all your links in the show notes, your website, your books, and we'd just be honored if you'd leave us a final thought from your good self.
Yeah, so I would say, yeah, find your path of roses and start now. Take the first step to find to your path of roses. So take the time to reflect.
Beautiful. We appreciate you. Thank you.
I appreciate. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Hey, my friends, thank you for making it to the end. I hope that our time spent together today has left you a little bit better than before you push play. I'd really appreciate if you just took a moment to leave a review to allow me to meet more people where they are and hopefully leave them a little bit better too. If you're curious to know how I, through Always Better Than Yesterday, can serve you, your team, your organisation, then head to alwaysbetterthanyesterday.com to connect. And while you're there, let me know one or two things that you're going to do as a result of listening to this conversation. I absolutely love hearing your thoughts, your reflections, and the things that this spark in your own heart and mind. If you want more insights from my heart and mind, I do send out short episodes on a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Friday, and again, I hope that they serve you well. I appreciate you listening. I'm Ryan Hartley, host of the Always Better Than Yesterday podcast, a podcast for heart-centered leaders just like you. Keep leading, my friends. Always love.